Chapter 1. The Trip. The road stretched ahead like a promise. Michael Dawson kept one hand on the steering wheel and the other wrapped around a gas station coffee cup that had long gone cold. Beside him, Laura flipped through radio stations, trying to find something that wasn't static or country. In the back seat, their 6-year-old son, Timmy, was humming to himself while clutching his favorite toy, a little blue fire truck with worn wheels. "Are we there yet?" Timmy asked for the third time in 10 minutes. "Almost, buddy," Michael said with a tired smile. "Just a couple more hours." Laura shot him a look. "You said that an hour ago." Michael chuckled. It keeps his hope alive. They had left Chicago that morning, heading west toward the mountains for a weekend getaway, just the three of them. A rental cabin by a lake, no screens, no emails, no deadlines. Just fresh air, trees, and silence. It was supposed to be perfect, so, this cabin, Laura said, glancing at the GPS. "You sure it's not haunted or anything?" "Haunted cabins cost extra," Michael joked. "This one's just dusty." Timmy giggled, then coughed. He shifted in his booster seat, suddenly quiet. "You okay back there?" Laura asked. Timmy nodded but looked uncomfortable. His cheeks puffed, eyes widening. Then he made a sound, something between a wheeze and a gasp. Michael glanced in the rearview mirror. "Timmy?" The boy was clutching his throat. The fire truck had fallen to the floor. He made a choking noise, lips turning pale. "Oh my God!" Laura screamed. "He's choking." Michael swerved to the side of the road and slammed on the brakes. Gravel crunched beneath the tires as the SUV jerked to a stop. Laura scrambled out and yanked open the back door. "Timmy, look at me, baby. Look at me." Michael ran around and pulled his son from the seat. He turned Timmy over and started slapping his back, hard, the way he'd learned in a CPR course years ago. Nothing came out. The boy's body was limp, his eyes rolling. "Call 911. Laura cried. "No signal." Michael snapped, checking his phone. Damn it. His eyes darted up and down the road, miles of empty forest on both sides. Then, just ahead, a dirt path veered off the main road, marked by an old wooden sign barely visible through the trees. He squinted, SHFILD. 2 miles there, he said. "There's a town." Laura looked at the path. "You don't know what's down there." "He's dying, Laura." Without another word, Michael jumped into the driver's seat. Laura climbed in the back with Timmy, still trying to help him breathe. The SUV roared to life and turned sharply off the highway onto the narrow, tree-lined road. Branches scraped the windows. The path was rough, overgrown, but they could see it, just ahead, rooftops behind the treetops. A village. Hope. But as they drove, the village didn't get any closer. Chapter 2. Detour. The tires bounced over the uneven dirt road, each jolt rattling the frame of the SUV. Trees leaned in from both sides like spectators, their bare branches clawing at the windows. Laura cradled Timmy in the back seat, whispering to him, rocking gently. He was breathing again, barely, but his eyes were half-lidded, his face pale. A faint wheeze came with each breath. Whatever he'd swallowed had moved just enough to let air through. Michael leaned forward over the wheel, his knuckles white. "I see rooftops," he said. "Just a little farther." The woods were thick, swallowing the road in shade despite the early afternoon sun. The air felt wrong, still and heavy. No birds, no insects, only the crunch of gravel under tires and the growing tension in the car. "How far is this town supposed to be?" Laura asked, checking her phone again. Still no service. Michael pointed ahead. It said 2 miles. We've got to be close. They passed a rusted signpost, almost invisible behind the undergrowth. It read, "Welcome to Ashfield, a nice place," to as to why the words had faded. The bottom half was coated in moss. One of the bolts had snapped, and the sign hung at an angle, swaying slightly as they passed. "Creepy," Laura muttered. They kept driving. The road narrowed, then widened, then narrowed again, looping between trees. Still no houses. No people. Just more trees. Another 10 minutes passed. Then they saw it again. Ashfield. 2 Michael blinked. "Wait, that's the same sign." "No way," Laura said. "That's impossible." We didn't turn around. They kept going. The trees thinned slightly, revealing a burned-out gas station to the right, a sagging canopy, shattered windows, and pumps choked by vines. A faded logo on the sign read Crane Gas, its letters melted and blackened as if by fire. "I think we passed that already," Laura whispered. Michael didn't answer. His jaw was clenched, his eyes scanning the road. "We didn't turn," she said, louder now. "Michael, we didn't turn. This is the same road." "No, it loops around. Maybe the road circles the village. But we haven't gotten any closer. It's like we're—" She stopped. Up ahead, the church steeple rose above the trees again, exactly where it had been the first time. "We're going in circles," she said quietly. Timmy stirred in the back seat, groaning softly. His tiny hand gripped Laura's finger. Michael slammed on the brakes. The SUV skidded to a stop in the middle of the road. That he leaned back in his seat and exhaled, shaking his head. Okay. Let's just stop for a second. I'll figure it out." Laura stared out the window, her voice a whisper. "Michael, this isn't right. The road, it's doing something." He didn't respond. He just stared into the forest, eyes wide, hands still gripping the wheel. And for a moment, no one spoke. No one moved. Then Timmy began to cry again, soft, pitiful sobs. And from somewhere deep in the woods, something answered. Not a voice, not quite an animal, just a sound. A low, distant hum, like the road itself was waking up. Chapter 3. Circles. Michael made a three-point turn and headed back the way they came. Or at least, he thought it was the way they came. The dirt road behind them looked identical to the road ahead. Same curve, same trees, same shadows stretching like fingers across the path. He focused on the GPS, but the screen had gone gray. A blinking blue dot floated in the center, lost in a blank map. "No signal," he muttered. Still nothing. Timmy had fallen into a dazed sleep in Laura's arms. His breathing was shallow but steady. Laura rocked him slowly, staring out the window. "Just keep driving," she whispered. "We'll get back to the highway." We must have missed a turn. Michael didn't answer. He just pressed the gas a little harder. The trees passed by like a dream. For a few minutes, there was silence. No crying, no whispers, not even the hum from the woods. Just the rhythmic crunch of tires on gravel. Then something appeared on the side of the road. A wooden sign. Ashfield. 2 Michael slammed his palm against the steering wheel. No. Laura's voice cracked. "That's not possible." We turned around. Michael, we turned around. He pulled over and got out, storming toward the sign. He stood there, staring at it like it had insulted him. The paint was faded, chipped. Moss crawled up the base. He touched it. Real wood. Cold. Behind him, Laura stepped out of the car, carrying Timmy. "Maybe we missed something," she said. "A fork in the road. A driveway. No, it's this road. It only goes one way." She glanced at the trees. "What if we walk? Maybe there's a house nearby." Something we can't see from the car. Michael looked at his son, pale, sweating, barely conscious that he nodded slowly. We try on foot, but not far. 10 minutes. If we don't find anything, we come back. They left the SUV on the side of the road. Michael carried Timmy now, cradled gently against his chest. Laura walked beside them, scanning the trees for anything. Light, movement, a sound. They passed the same gas station again. Only now, it looked older. The canopy had completely collapsed. The glass was gone from the windows. The sign had fallen and lay cracked in the grass. I swear that wasn't like that before, Laura said. Michael didn't answer. His breath was short. The forest air was thick now, almost syrupy. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then they saw something ahead. A figure, standing in the trees. Hey, Michael called. The figure didn't move. It was a man, dressed in gray, tall, still, face hidden in shadow. Laura stepped closer. Sir, please, we need help. Our son, he's choking, please. The man didn't speak. Then he turned and walked silently into the woods. Michael started to follow. Wait, don't, Laura said. Please, something's wrong with this place. But Michael was already pushing through the brush, chasing the man between the trees. Branches whipped at his arms and legs. Hey, stop, please. The man disappeared into the shadows, and then Michael was alone. He turned back and couldn't see the road or Laura or the SUV. Only trees, and behind him, for just a second, he thought he heard someone whisper, "You shouldn't have come here." Chapter 4. Ashes. Michael spun in a slow circle, breath quickening. The forest around him was suddenly unfamiliar, thicker, darker. The trees were twisted now, bark blackened like they'd been burned. And the silence, it was suffocating. Laura, he shouted. Timmy. Nothing. N.O. answered. N.O. birds. No breeze. Just the tightness in his chest and the rustle of dry leaves underfoot. He forced himself forward, pushing branches aside, snapping twigs with every step. His pulse roared in his ears. Then, like a curtain pulling back, the trees parted, and he stepped out into a clearing. A town. Or what was left of one. Blackened buildings leaned against each other like drunks. The windows were all shattered or boarded up, and everything was covered in ash. A ghost town, frozen mid-decay. The street was dirt, not pavement. No signs of life. A signpost at the edge of the road read, "Welcome to Ashfield Population." The number had been scratched out. Michael moved slowly, shielding his eyes from the sun, or what passed for it. The sky above was a dim gray. Light filtered through like it didn't want to be there. He called out again. Laura? Timmy. A door creaked. He turned sharply. One building stood intact. A small white church at the end of the road, its steeple crooked but still upright. The front doors were ajar, and from inside came, humming, not mechanical, not wind. A human voice. Soft, tuneless, drifting. Michael stepped toward the church. Each footstep felt harder than the last, like the town was pulling him down. The air stank of smoke and old wood. He reached the doors and pushed them open. The interior was empty. Rotten pews lined the aisle, and mold clung to the walls. The altar at the front was cracked, a burned Bible resting on its surface. Behind it, a massive stained glass window stood mostly intact, casting distorted colors across the floor, and standing beneath it, Laura. She was holding Timmy, rocking him. Laura, he cried, rushing forward. She didn't move. Her back was to him. Laura, thank God. I thought. He stopped. She turned, but her eyes were wrong. Empty. like glass marbles. Timmy's head rolled to one side. He was pale, unmoving. Laura, Michael whispered. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then her mouth stretched open, far wider than it should have, and from the dark cavern inside, he heard it again. You shouldn't have come here. Michael stumbled back, falling over a broken pew. The church doors slammed shut behind him. Darkness fell like a curtain, and the town began to hum. Chapter 5. No Way Out. Michael jolted awake, lying on the ground outside the church. The doors were closed now, weathered wood covered in old burn marks. The stained glass window was shattered, shards glittering like ice in the morning light. Morning, the sky was bright. The air was cooler. The humming was gone. He sat up slowly, heart still pounding. Was it a dream? No. His arms were scratched. His palms were dirty. His shirt was torn. It was real. But Laura and Timmy. He turned, scanning the empty street. Laura, he shouted, stumbling to his feet. Timmy. Only silence answered. He ran back to where he thought the road had been. The SUV was gone. No tracks. No sign it had ever been there. He reached for his phone. Still no service. The battery had dropped to 3%. He ran through the town, past collapsed houses and gutted storefronts. Every building he tried was empty, dusty, rotting, like no one had lived there for decades. No people. No sounds. Just that feeling, like the town was watching. That he screamed their names again and again until his voice cracked. Then, around the next corner, he saw something new. Footprints, small ones. A child's, leading into a narrow alley between two buildings. Timmy, Michael followed them. The alley was tight and damp. Vines crawled along the walls like veins. The prints continued to the end of the path and stopped at a brick wall. He stared. Then something dripped. He looked up. There, pinned to the side of the building with rusted nails, was a child's stuffed dinosaur. The same one Timmy had dropped in the car. Its fabric was soaked with something dark. Michael tore it free and clutched it to his chest. No, he whispered. No, no, no. He stumbled back out of the alley, nearly falling. Then, in the center of the road, he saw her, Laura. She stood still, her face pale, eyes wide with tears. She held Timmy, limp, unmoving, in her arms. Laura, he cried, running to her. She didn't react. When he reached her, he grabbed her shoulders. Are you okay? Is he? She slowly looked at him, her lips trembling. I tried to go back, she whispered. I tried. Michael looked around. Where were you? I woke up and, no matter where I went, she said, it always led back here. This place. This road. He hugged her tight, cradling both of them in his arms. We'll find a way out, he said. We just have to keep moving. But when they turned around, the road behind them was gone. Only forest, no church. No buildings. No sign of the town at all. Just trees and the sound of crunching leaves. From behind them, something was coming. Chapter 6. The Road That Wasn't There. They didn't look back. Michael gripped Laura's hand tightly. Timmy cradled between them and pushed forward into the forest. The trees seemed to press closer with every step. Thick roots coiled over the ground like veins. The path underfoot, if it was even a path, twisted in unnatural ways, doubling back without them realizing. Branches cracked somewhere behind them. Slow, deliberate. Not an animal. Footsteps. We need to hide, Laura whispered, her voice shaking. Michael scanned the woods and spotted a thicket of thorny bushes near a large fallen log. There, he said. They ducked behind it, crawling into the dense undergrowth. Timmy stirred slightly in Laura's arms, but didn't wake. His breathing was shallow, his face pale. They held their breath. Something moved through the trees. Just beyond them, a figure, tall, human-like, but wrong. Its arms were too long. Its legs moved without sound. Its face was a blur, shifting like smoke. It didn't walk, it glided. Michael clutched a broken branch, ready to strike if it saw them. The figure stopped, turned its head, then kept going. Only after the sound of its movement faded into silence did they dare breathe. What was that? Laura whispered. I don't know, but we need to move now. They crawled out and followed what looked like a trail that led them to a clearing. In the center stood something entirely out of place, a phone booth, a dusty red payphone box with cracked glass, standing alone among the trees. Michael looked at Laura. She shrugged, too tired to question it, but he stepped inside. To his surprise, the receiver worked at a dial tone that he hesitated, then dialed 911.1 ring .2. Then someone answered, but not a dispatcher, a child's voice, soft. Hello. Familiar, Daddy, it said. Michael froze. Timmy. But Timmy was asleep in Laura's arms, right outside the booth. Where are you, Daddy? The voice continued. Why did you leave us? The glass fogged from the inside. He tried to hang up, but the receiver wouldn't budge. His hand was stuck, the cord wrapping tighter around his wrist. Don't leave again, the voice said. You're with us now. Then the phone screamed, a high-pitched shriek like a dying animal. Michael yanked his hand free and stumbled out of the booth, gasping. The trees had changed again. The clearing was gone. The forest around them was different, darker, older. A layer of fog crept along the ground like spilled milk, and up ahead stood the SUV, their car. Right there, parked between two trees, lights off. Doors shut. Laura stared at it. How? Michael ran to it and threw open the driver's door. Inside, the keys were in the ignition. The dashboard still blinking. He turned to Laura. We're leaving. Now. They climbed in. Timmy was laid gently across the back seat. Michael turned the key. The engine started. He hit the gas and sped forward, down the dirt path between the trees. The forest swallowed them whole, and behind them, in the shadow of the trees, the figure watched, not moving, just smiling. Chapter 7. The Gas Station. The SUV sped through the forest, tires bouncing over twisted roots and uneven ground. Branches scraped along the sides like nails. Michael gripped the wheel, white-knuckled, eyes locked on the narrow path ahead. Laura sat stiffly in the passenger seat, clutching Timmy's little hand as he lay across the back seat, still unconscious. His chest rose and fell, barely. Just keep driving, she whispered. Don't stop, no matter what. I won't, Michael said, jaw clenched. But something felt wrong that he kept seeing the same bent pine tree, the same toppled signpost with unreadable lettering, a tattered blue tarp hanging in the branches. They were going in circles, again and again. Michael, Laura's voice trembled. We've passed that tarp 3 times. I know, he muttered. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. The GPS blinked, then rebooted, then displayed a message he'd never seen before. You are already here. The road beneath them was becoming thinner, more narrow. The trees closer, the light dimmer. Then, a gas station. Out of nowhere, it stood just ahead, rusted and ancient, one lonely pump standing beside a cracked storefront. A flickering neon sign buzzed. Open. They stared at it. What the hell? Michael whispered. Laura looked at him. Do we stop? He hesitated. We're almost out of gas. As if to confirm, the fuel light blinked on. Michael pulled into the station. The moment the car stopped, the engine died on its own. The silence was immediate. Heavy. Wait here, he told Laura as he stepped out, crunching over gravel. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and gasoline. The pump was ancient, coin-operated, covered in grime. He looked through the dusty station window. Someone stood inside, an old man, motionless behind the counter, watching him. Michael opened the glass door. A bell jingled. Hello, he called. My family, my son, he's sick. We're lost. We need help. The old man didn't speak, just stared. Then he slowly raised a wrinkled finger and pointed at a map pinned to the wall. Michael walked over. It was a local map, hand-drawn, yellowed. A single road wound through the woods like a snake. It led to a small village. But where the road should have ended, it looped back to the start. Over and over, he turned back to the man. Is this a joke? The man's lips parted, and he whispered, You don't leave the road. You become it. Michael froze. What? The lights flickered. The man vanished, just gone. Michael backed out of the store and ran to the car. We need to go. Now. He turned the key. The engine wouldn't start. And then Timmy sat up in the back seat, his eyes still closed, but his mouth moved. And in a flat, lifeless voice, he said, We never should have turned. The air grew colder. The pump beside them began to leak. Black liquid spilled across the gravel like ink. The trees around the gas station began to move, bending, creaking, reaching, and somewhere in the woods, that same voice from the phone booth whispered, You're already home. Chapter 8. Ashes and Silence. Michael slammed the door shut, shaking. Timmy had slumped back into unconsciousness, but the words still echoed in his head. We never should have turned. Laura was pale, trembling, her eyes fixed on the pump outside. The black liquid kept pouring, spreading like oil across the gravel, inching toward the SUV. Michael turned the key again. Nothing. He slammed the steering wheel. Come on, come on. The trees groaned. Branches moved, not swaying, moving. Intentionally, creeping closer. Michael, Laura whispered. Look. He followed her gaze. The neon sign above the gas station now read, Burn. Then the lights went out. Darkness fell like a curtain, and then came the screams, not from the woods, but from inside the car. Not Laura, not Timmy, another voice. Twisted, inhuman. It came from the air vents, from the radio, from under their seats. Michael reached for the door handle, slammed. It locked itself. All four doors did. He tried the window. Wouldn't budge. Laura cried out as the SUV began to shake, violently, like something massive had grabbed it from underneath. Let us go. Michael shouted. What do you want from us? The windshield cracked. From the inside. A handprint spread across the glass, burning red hot. Smoke filled the cabin. Then, a sound like static, then a voice, deep, layered with dozens of whispers. You were warned. The road remembers. Michael kicked at the door until it finally gave. He pulled Laura out, then grabbed Timmy and ran, sprinting blindly into the woods. Behind them, the SUV burst into flames, the fire unnaturally quiet, smoke rising without heat. No explosion. No heat. Just disintegration. The gas station was already gone. Trees had swallowed it whole. And the road? Gone, too. Only dirt now. And in the distance, through the trees, they saw the village, those same old buildings, the same twisted steeple of the burned church. No, Michael whispered. We were just there. We ran for miles. Laura's voice cracked. It brought us back. They walked slowly forward, exhausted, every step heavier than the last. As they entered the edge of the village, everything was silent and no wind. No animals, not even the distant hum from before, just silence. Then, behind them, footsteps. Dozens of them. Quiet, barely audible over the crunch of dry earth. They turned. Figures stood at the tree line. Some looked human, some did not. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their limbs moved wrong, like broken marionettes. Laura clutched Timmy tighter. "What do we do?" she whispered. Michael turned toward the center of the village. In front of the church now stood a new sign, carved in rotting wood. "Those who turn never return." He looked at Laura. There was no way out. Not anymore. Not ever. Chapter 9. Those Who Remain. The villagers didn't speak. They stood in absolute silence, unmoving, watching Michael and Laura like statues with rotting skin and two wide eyes. Some were barefoot. Some were dressed in old-fashioned clothes, shirts buttoned to the neck, long skirts, coats with burned edges. And some had no faces at all. Laura clutched Timmy as he whimpered in her arms. His skin had grown colder, his breathing shallower, his lips tinged blue. "We have to get help," she whispered. "He's dying, Michael." Michael's hands trembled. "There's no help here. This place is—" A bell rang, not loud, just a single clang from the church tower. And suddenly, the villagers began to move, not walking, but gliding, in unison, like sleepwalkers. They parted, forming a path leading toward the church. Michael looked at Laura. "They want us to go inside." "No," she said. "It's a trap." "I know." He turned his face to the sky. "But what choice do we have?" They followed the path. Every step closer to the church made the air feel heavier, colder. Shadows curled at their feet like fog. The double doors stood open, revealing only darkness within. Inside, the pews were all empty. Except for the last row, there sat a mirror. A tall, old, warped mirror in a black wooden frame. It faced the altar. Michael approached it slowly and saw himself. Only it wasn't his reflection. It was him. Yes, but older, haggard, covered in ash, eyes sunken, mouth slightly open like he'd been screaming for years. Then the reflection blinked. Michael stumbled back. The mirror changed. Now it showed Laura. Then Timmy. Then all three of them, sitting inside their car, skin burned, eyes lifeless. "Stop," Michael whispered. "Stop." The mirror cracked. A voice whispered behind them. "You were warned not to turn." They spun around. A woman stood in the center aisle, face hidden under a black veil. Her fingers were burned to the bone. Her voice echoed like a wind through dead leaves. "You brought your sin to the road. The road brought you home." Michael stepped forward. "We didn't do anything. We just needed help." The woman tilted her head. "All who run from their guilt end up here." Behind her, more figures appeared, others who had come before. Their eyes empty, some crying, some smiling with broken teeth. One of them stepped forward. A child, her face half melted, her voice barely audible. "You turned. Now the road owns you." Michael turned to Laura. "We need to wake up. This has to be a nightmare." But Laura's eyes had gone wide. She clutched Timmy's chest. "He's not breathing." Michael rushed to her. "No, no, no." He grabbed Timmy, shook him gently. Nothing. No heartbeat, no breath. Michael screamed. Then the church doors slammed shut behind them. The villagers began to chant, softly, repeating a single phrase: "The road remembers. The road never forgets." And outside, the trees closed in, swallowing the village whole. Chapter 10. Nowhere. 2 weeks later. Northern Oregon. A pair of hikers were cutting through dense forest near a state boundary. Far off the trail, somewhere no GPS could map, where compasses spun in slow circles. "Dude, what the hell is that?" one of them asked, squinting ahead. Through the trees, half buried in moss and leaves, sat a rusted black SUV. Windows shattered, tires deflated, vines curling through the open doors like fingers. The other hiker stepped closer, eyes wide. "There's no roads out here." They circled the vehicle. The back door was slightly ajar. Inside, 3 skeletons sat slumped in their seats. A man in the driver's seat, one hand still gripping the wheel. A woman in the front, head resting against the window. And in the back, small bones wrapped in a child's clothes. But what truly made their skin crawl was the dashboard, carved into the plastic with something jagged. "We never turned back." No ID, no license plates, no signs of how the vehicle got there. The authorities arrived later that day. They couldn't explain no missing person reports matched. No VIN number traced to any registration. The vehicle shouldn't exist, and the land it was found on, no roads, no paths, no tire tracks, just wilderness and silence. Back at the station, a rookie officer flipped through the photos from the scene. On the last image, one taken through the SUV's cracked side mirror, he noticed something strange. A face, pale, watching from the trees, too tall, no eyes. And under the image, the computer auto-generated a file name from the embedded GPS. It read, US 66_Redur, Village to Road. But when he tried to open the file, it disappeared, just like the car, just like the family. And from that day forward, every time he drove at night, he saw a small figure on the side of the road. A child, mouth wide open, choking.